fantastic beasts. Mark with Kardavox Academy here. And today and next week, actually, we're going to be talking about some of the most influential vocalists in the deathcore genre. Now, of course, there are many people who have influenced the genre and many people who are worth talking to or talking about, one of which is Mitch Lucker. Now, you know, if you don't know who Mitch Lucker is, he was huge. He unfortunately did die in a car accident a few years ago, but he was the vocalist and the frontman of a band called Suicide Silence, hugely influential. Mitch Lucker's highs are what kind of influenced and got me wanting to learn how to do high vocals as well. So today we're going to be listening to the song You Only Live Once. I have heard and seen this before, but it's been a couple years. It's been quite a while, so should be kind of fresh, should be kind of fun. Now, if you're new to the channel, what we do is we take the reaction format, we break it down, we make it educational, so we take some time to talk here and there about a little bit of the vocal technique, either what they're doing, or if we're not so sure, maybe how we could approach it as well. If you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We've also got a Patreon where you can hang out with people from all around the globe, talk vocals, talk video games, talk TV, doesn't really matter. You, as a patron, you also get to vote on and nominate one reaction video per month. Last but not least, I am a vocal coach and a vocalist myself, vocalist of Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. So if you're interested in vocal lessons or you want to learn how to do some of this type of stuff, check the description below for information. But let's go ahead. Let's jump into You Only Live Once by Suicide Silence. How many times am I going to stutter in this video? Someone keep count. Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. How many times does Mark stutter in this reaction video? But let's go ahead. Let's just jump into it. Let's just go. Sometimes you gotta just do it. So here we go.
Push your care, push your burdens aside, erase everything inside and leave just one thing on your mind. So just go fucking go.
It's actually a pretty good place to stop and talk real quick. Now, we're going to keep this first pause pretty short, but it's really important if we're going to learn anything from this that we keep one concept in mind, okay? And that concept is, and this is very important, for high vocal screams, false chord or fry, it really doesn't matter. Resonance guides distortion, right? A lot of times, high vocals, high screams of any variety can be difficult for new screamers or even veteran screamers because we don't take our scream and move it through our vocal register the same way that we would our singing voice. For example, if I'm singing here, hey, right there like that, that's very much a chest voice sound. But if you listen to Mitch's vocals here, behind his high vocal, yeah, right, he's got almost like a falsetto, yeah, you only live once, so you right? He's got a little bit of that sound going on. Now, this can be done safely. It's tricky, and I don't usually start people there, but it can be done safely if our distortion is coming from the right place. How do we get our distortion in the right place? We use resonance placement. We change the placement of our voice. A lot of times people will make the high voice face, right? Everybody who does high vocals, they look like some variation of this, right? But they're still screaming from their throat. So their high vocal, instead of moving from their mouth to their nasal cavity, just kind of does this, versus actually moving up. A lot of this is a function of the back of the tongue, by the way, raising the back of the tongue upwards towards the roof of the mouth. Let's keep going, though. There's a lot more to talk about. we heard something really cool just then. We heard him, and I totally forgot about all the shots in this video. Oh man, that looks painful. But we heard him do something really cool. He went from his high vocal, "Yo, you only live once," to more of a raspy, belted, "Hey, yo, oh," yeah, kind of right there. "Oh." I'm not sure exactly what it was, but he took it and he brought it back down, brought it a little bit more modal, and sort of belted that forward. That was really cool. Let's go back a little bit and hear that again. And if I remember this song correctly, we've got some low vocals coming up. If I remember it correctly. Let's go back to right about here. There it is. There it is. So we're about to get to a different section. So let's talk about those lows. Now, one thing about Mitch Lucker's lows, let's change the shot here. Sorry, dude. Let's change the shot. We can listen to them again. So one thing about Mitch's lows is that, and he actually talks about this in a couple studio record where it's like, hey, behind the scenes, we're recording this album. He kind of talks about it, but Mitch Lucker's lows are usually 2 to 3 layers kind of stacked. And that's super common, by the way. Like, this is not at all a call out. That's what I do. That's what a lot of people do. They'll stack their vocals, lows, highs, mids, cleans, doesn't really matter. They also would put a lot of gain on his vocals. Again, not a call out. I've done that. It sounds cool, right? Vocal production is fun. Put production on your vocals. But sometimes it can make it a little bit difficult to tell what's going on. I've had conversations with people who, they approach this sound from a purely like fry guttural placement. I've had other people who treat it more like the traditional false chord dog bark, but they bring it low, kind of into their mouth, forward resonance. And both types I've heard sound awesome, right? So if you're going to attempt this stuff, go about it however you want, honestly, as long as you're being safe, right? As long as you're being cognizant of your vocal health, right? Not squeezing too hard, regardless of the style that we're doing. Now, the way that I would do this is I would kind of do a breathier, compressed false chord bark, right? So our false chord bark, kind of the quintessential exercise, oh, 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 right? You don't hear mark in that, right? My true chords aren't engaging, not to any meaningful degree. But it's really breathy. You can't really go very far with that. So if we add a little bit of a squeeze above our throat in this pharyngeal space, right? The pharynx being an open tube that runs from the soft palate and where your nasal cavity meets the nasopharynx down into the oropharynx, which is just what you see in your mouth when you look back, and then even down to the top of the throat, the laryngo or laryngopharynx. We can squeeze, we can add a little bit of engagement, right there, and it'll take that, and turn it into more of an, and if we curl our tongue back and drop our jaw, we can kind of modulate that sound and play around with how it sits, right? And so that's where I would start if I was going to try to replicate something like this. Then I do a couple tracks. He's got a very hollow open sound, which is pretty cool. A lot of that comes, again, from tongue curl, forward resonance. Let's go ahead and keep going.
Erase everything inside. Erase everything inside. Erase everything inside and reach the light. You only get one
Yo, deathcore used to be such a slugfest, didn't it? It used to be such a slugfest. Like, it's definitely grown and become more complex and more varied as the years have gone by. And that's totally awesome. That's totally awesome. But sometimes I miss the simplicity of what it was back then. Just chugging aggression placed as forward and in your face as possible. So yes, let's talk about the takeaways. Primarily, I mean, he had great lows, but primarily, at least from the people I've spoken with, he was very well known for his highs, right? He had a lot of good balance between distortion and true chord phonation. Sometimes he had this yeah, yeah. Other times he would make it a little bit more true chord, yeah, 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 right? And we would get those forward, you only live once. Those are important things to think about. Now, again, if you're trying to make this distortion move up out of the back of the mouth, it should never be deep in the throat. Up out of the back of the mouth, onto the soft palate, and even feeling like you're resonating in your nose. Remember, resonance guides your distortion. If you're finding this place, and you grunt, you do your quintessential grunt in that placement, over time you'll be able to get there. Now, one last thing I want to point out that he did, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up, is that now there are other people that did this as well, for sure, but one thing that I think kind of helped him coin his sound was that he wouldn't use glottal onsets very frequently, so not a lot of he would use a lot of mixed onsets, yeah, yeah, yeah. So the word I becomes yai, I versus yai, yai, or uai, uai, uai. This can be really helpful, not only because it sounds cool, I think it sounds really cool, but it can also be like a little calibration move. Like right when you start your vocal, you have a split second of making sure you're in the right spot, then you open up to the word you want. But anyways, that'll be enough for today. Thank you for tuning in and checking out Mitch Lucker in Suicide Silence doing You Only Live Once. That video is wild. Kind of forgot about some of those elements. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot. It helps out with that algorithm. If you want to see more of these videos, if you want to cast your vote and nominate a video once per month, exclusive just to our patrons being able to do that, make sure to check out our Patreon. It also gives you access to our Discord where we have lots of fun. And of course, I do give one-on-one vocal lessons. But more than anything, thank you for hanging out. Greatly appreciate you. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.